Hello, everybody. Welcome to Finding Brave this week. I'm Kathy Caprino, and we are here talking about something that I think is going to be tremendously instrumental for a range of folks who are coaches, consultants, private practitioners, and people aspiring to be that and to generate the financial reward they feel they deserve and that they want. And we're going to talk about all the things that are in the way of that because there are some blocks. And I'm so excited to introduce my guest, Sean Patrick. Sean, thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure to be on with you, Kathy. Hello, everybody.
We had some technical issues that made us sweat a little bit, but here we are, everyone, and we are ready to find brave in every possible way around how to generate the money that you really do deserve and want. And I want to say, Sean, you and I met not too long ago, right? Maybe 6 months ago, is it?
Yeah, I would say so. We connected on LinkedIn about 6 months ago.
LinkedIn, my favorite place in the world,
Absolutely.
almost. And we had a chat. The reason I couldn't wait to have you on is that we had a chat about my own business. And you know, I don't refer to it as high ticket closing, and you're going to talk about that. But just in our brief conversation, some of the nuggets you gave me really, really got in, and they really unlocked some thinking for me. So I said, well, if it's helping me, it's going to help my Finding Brave peeps. So let me tell everybody all about you, Sean. Here you are. Sean is the founder of Truth. Love that. Truth is a private partnership designed to accelerate the sales and results of a select group of online coaches. Sean works with clients to personally close their qualified inbound leads for high-ticket services on a 100% performance basis, and you're going to talk all about that. This is intriguing. His closing methodology blends applications of advanced psychology, luxury selling, coaching, and peak performance to arrive at one thing: the truth. Wow. The truth that's hidden deep in the subconscious minds of the client's prospects. The truth that influences their decision to invest in themselves and to show up consistently. Wow. With unwavering commitment to excellence. I love it. I love it. Boy, anyone who's a coach or a consultant, you know that that's not easy to come by, is it? Sean's goal is to elevate his clients' coaching practice to unprecedented levels while giving them time and clarity to focus on delivering transformational value. Wow, Sean. All right. That's
You read it better than I could have ever read it
wow.
myself, Kathy.
All right. Let us jump right in and not waste any time here. So you help your clients get really big results. Can you talk first about, we're going to get into kind of the blocks in the way of those of us
Sure.
selling high ticket, and you can even define that, but what is the difference between a high ticket closer and a salesperson, and how would you even define high ticket? I'm intrigued.
Sure. So high ticket closer. Closing implies that you're getting the deal done. You're bringing it to a term. Whereas selling, you could be closing the deal, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you are. And the reason for that is because there are so many sales methodologies out there. And some are outdated, some are great. You know, I'm not here to say which one is better than the other. But the truth is that there are a lot of outdated methods that don't necessarily work in the digital age, in the 21st century, where it's all about authenticity and deep connection. And it's not so much about, you know, what myself as the salesperson or the closer can do for the prospect. It's about really understanding where they're coming from, you know, on a deep, deep level, and not making assumptions. You see, the typical characteristics of a salesperson, and I'm sure that, you know, even myself, you know, before I got into sales, you know, I had my idea of what a salesperson was, and that's somebody who talks a lot, who justifies, who tries to please their clients, chases them, pushes features and benefits. Now, that is the traditional sales method. Closing, on the other hand, is somewhat of the inverse, because it comes from the fundamental understanding that people buy on emotion. They don't buy on logic. And it's very difficult to get into somebody's emotion if you're talking the whole time. Whoever asks the questions controls the sale. And that's what a high ticket closer is. It's somebody that's very, very good at asking those difficult, deep questions that so many people are afraid to ask others and even ask themselves. And that's where uncovering the truth comes in.
The truth. So, oh, I have so much already to ask you. Let me just ask it straight. Is another way of what you just said that sure, you are trying to help generate sales, meaning revenue for the client. But the way people think of salespeople is in many ways derogatory. I mean, let's face it, we talk about used car salesmen
Hmm.
or people that are selling ice to people that don't need ice. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
In some ways, are you differentiating what you're doing, rightly so, that it's not just about getting the money. It's understanding what this person needs at a very deep level. And I'm
Hmm.
guessing because I know you have integrity, it's not just about winning them over. In fact, if you sense that the client, this prospect wouldn't be a good fit, I'm guessing you wouldn't want to close. Is that
100%.
right?
100%, because it's not only about results. Sure, this methodology gets fantastic results for the people that I partner with, but it also derives lots of quality, because that comes from the
Mm.
understanding that, yeah, I could probably close just about anybody, but if they're not right for the program, they're going to be a headache to my business partner, the coach that I'm representing. And how can you possibly expect to scale to a 6 to 7 figure mark and actually continue to enjoy what you're doing, enjoy your life outside of business, if you're dealing with all these clients that really aren't right for you?
Yeah, it's just a mess. I can
It's
tell you that. It's not
non-negotiable.
fun and it's a waste of both people's time. And who wants
Mhm.
that? It's not in integrity. All right, I got it. Now tell me how you define high ticket just so that people understand. What's high ticket?
It varies. I would say the minimum threshold for a coaching program price is $3,000 and up.
Gotcha. Hmm.
And everybody has their own comfort level.
Right.
And we'll get into this because
Ooh,
this has a lot to do with money beliefs.
yeah.
And if you can't name a price with conviction, the prospect's going to know all about it. They're going to sense that. And why would they buy from you? Why would they enroll if you're not even confident in the number that you're giving out? Because your price is another. It's a metric of the way you look at your value and the value of your program, of course.
I
Um,
remember you gave me, when we first talked, you gave me a little test. Do you remember what that test was?
I can't say that I do. I'm
You
sorry.
said, so let me hear you talk about the prices that the prices of your coaching packages.
Oh
And I
yeah.
did it. And then you said, what do you say if someone says, I don't have the money for that? Or how do you justify that? So can we jump in? We're going to get tactical, but we're going to get strategic. But let's do this. What do you see are the biggest blocks for, I mean, one of them is energy. One of them is what you truly believe in and of yourself that
Mhm.
that can't not be communicated. I mean, if I'm charging $695 an hour, which I do for executive coaching, if I don't believe it in myself, I'm going to like cough up a hairball when I say that number. I'm going to set up some energetic block to that. But tell me what, if you could distill it down, the one or two or three things that hold people, coaches, consultants back the most in in getting great results financially in their high ticket programs. What's the block? What are the challenges?
I tend to see a number of ones that come up quite often. Now, there are those ones that are, your beliefs that are in your subconscious mind, but there are also the practical systems that a lot of coaches
Mm.
have in place and perhaps are impeding their results, because a
Oh,
lot of times I find that they're putting their eggs in too many baskets. And that also has to do with a belief that they're not going to get the results that they truly desire by working with one service provider. So they have to spread it out across a number of different ones. And of course, what that does is, it's a mess.
wait, let me understand it, Sean. You mean the let's talk about coaches. They're putting their eggs in too many baskets in terms of what they're trying to accomplish in a day. I'm a writer, speaker, trainer, career coach. Do you mean that, or
It's part of it. It's definitely part of it. I would group it into marketing and sales.
Mm.
before we actually get into the beliefs part of it. But, the marketing, really understanding who your target market is,
Mm.
right? And being able to predict their behavior, almost having a very, very well-defined niche. And so that you are the coach, unlike any other coach, that knows exactly who your clients are. And then from there, you transition into understanding what you actually sell. I see way too many coaches who are, I come across their LinkedIn profiles on a daily basis, who are talking about the features and benefits of their program, instead of the emotional hot buttons, which are actually the reasons why people, buy what they do, invest in things. And then the next step is communicating your value in a way that is incredibly relevant to that well-defined target market, and speaks to those emotional hot buttons. And then, of course, the next part is booking appointments and closing sales. So that's a very technical thing that I see from the marketing standpoint. And behind all that is what I was getting into before, was that they're spreading out their marketing across various service providers. So Facebook ads, LinkedIn lead generation,
Oh.
SEO, all that other. And I'm not saying that they all can't be beneficial, but you have to be thinking about it correctly. You have to have a strategy behind it. A lot of
Right.
people are just bouncing around from thing to thing, dabbling in them, and never really getting the true results that they're capable of based on the value that I see them delivering. If I have a look at or have a conversation with them about what they're actually doing, they can transform lives. It's just it's not being communicated properly to the market, and their mental strategy isn't necessarily correct to achieve that.
When you talk about, for instance, social media, you found me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn rocks for me. Others don't. And there is so much noise. I want to hear what you think about this, but there is so much marketing advice for coaches that I think is so wrong. Like, for instance, you got to get on Instagram. That's where it's all happening. Yeah, it's big now. It's taking over. But that doesn't mean every coach with every niche, with every ideal client group needs to be spending an hour on Instagram a day. It doesn't mean that.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you see a lot of marketing gurus for coaches giving advice that you feel that's really not accurate? Do you see that?
I do. Let me ask you a question. If the gurus are telling you that you need to be on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn,
Right. All of it.
what
Yeah.
makes you different from all the other coaches? Why should somebody invest their money and their time in working with you as opposed to someone else? There always has to be your own personal brand and your own personal strategy behind everything that you do, and it has to be consistent.
So I'm going off script here, Sean, but I would love your thoughts. So I train lots of coaches and advise lots of coaches. And what I see is so many of them, especially if they're just starting out, actually can't communicate a point of differentiation between them and another career coach or another business coach or another health coach. They just can't. So what do you advise when you're working or talking about working with a coach and you sense that I don't even understand how you're different from another coach? Do you help them with that? Do you help them define that?
I ask them a lot of why questions.
And so, can you give us some examples that would really help our audience? What
Mhm.
why questions would you ask that would give people clarity on that?
Why do you do what you do? Because every person is different. Everyone will give you a different answer, because a why question, the answer to that is formulated by your collective experiences and the way that you approach coaching on a personal level. And so once you're clear on why you're doing something, what your bigger purpose is, then you're able to distill
Mm.
that into words, into obviously words that are relevant to whomever you wish to target.
So we've got why do you do what you do? Can you give us a few others, just a few others of your secret sauce?
Well, it's generally a variation of why you do what you do. It's really contextual of how the conversation is going.
Mhm.
I find that asking someone what makes your heart sing is another great question. It's an emotionally charged question, and they really start dreaming about you know what what they're really hoping to achieve for themselves and their clients, and being a coach, a successful coach. And it also brings them back into sort of the catalyst that got them into coaching, because many people that have become coaches, they've had tremendous hardships in the past, and that's why they're able to help others, to elevate others. And so once we open up that dialogue there, a lot of interesting emotional um, buzzwords, keywords come out, and from there you're able to craft, what differentiates you.
I so love it. So how about niche? One thing I work with a lot of people on, and I struggled, I think I mentioned to you, I'm happy to say now my sweet spot is working with women, not just all women, mid to high level professional women who've had, let's say, 5 to 10 plus years and they've had some success, but they wake up and say, oh my gosh, what I've got is not what I want. I mean, that's it. That's the world I work with. But I struggled having the bravery to say I'm a woman's coach for years. And when I was working with a wonderful branding guy, Robert Friedman, he said, why are you struggling with this so much? Didn't you just spend a year researching women's crises? Yes. Didn't you just write a book, Breakthrough on professional women's crises? Yes. Didn't you say you love it? You love it because there's a shorthand now when you're working with a professional woman. All she has to say is about 3 words and you really understand where she's coming from. Yes. So then why don't you want to say you're a women's coach? And for me, it was because I'm going to cut out half the population. I bet you
Mhm.
hear something along those lines every day about I'm scared to say what my real heartfelt niche is. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. And it goes from person to person. What I see a tremendous amount of um, is coaches not actually uh, defining their niche, because on a subconscious level they're saying, well, I really really want to help people, and
Mm.
let me just cast a wide net and see who I get, and I'll be broad, you know and so I have a better chance of generating business and closing sales and actually helping these people.
So
But
it's
the thing,
fear, basically. It's
it is.
fear and not understanding. Let me just, for anyone who's nodding their head, the way I see it work is the clearer you are about who you love on your calendar. That's the first way to see it. You got Fred, Sue, Sally, and Pete, and, 5 other people. Who are you overjoyed to see on that calendar? And who do you go, oh, God, I don't want to deal with those issues. I don't want to deal with that personality. I don't want to deal with it. Be brave enough to say there's reasoning in that. There's
Mhm.
information in that. Act on that. You're not meant to really serve. I feel that if you're trying to serve everyone, you can't really serve anyone at the highest level. Would you agree with that?
I completely agree, because you're trying to communicate with everybody and yet you're relevant to no one.
That's it. That's it. So we're asking you to find brave here, figure out who you absolutely love to help. And even if it's the tiniest sliver, there's a friend of mine, David Siteman Garland, who he runs a course to teach people how to run courses.
Mm.
And there are people with the tiniest niche you've ever seen. I groom dogs who are under 25 pounds who've had an eye disorder, whatever. I'm making it up. And, as long as you have a loyal following there and you're saying something incredibly helpful, it doesn't have to be 500,000 people that you're reaching on LinkedIn. All right,
Mhm.
Sean, I'm yakking. Let's go to unconscious blocks. So if you're dealing with do you deal with men and women equally as your clients, or do you?
I do.
Oh, okay. Mm,
I do. I actually deal with women more than I do with men.
interesting, because
Strangely
I'm
enough.
about to ask you, what do you see are some of the unconscious blocks we hold that keep money away from us? And then when you answer that, I'm interested to know, do you see a difference between men and women on this? I'm dying to know. So what holds us back internally about, gosh, I just priced my package at $3,000 and no one's buying, and tell us what are we struggling with here?
It could be many different things, but if we're talking about subconscious beliefs, what I see a lot is that either the coach does not think they're worth that amount of money. They see everybody else pricing their services at a certain level. And they say, "Hey, I got to do it too." But here's the thing:
Oh,
you can never outperform your own self-image.
so say that again. Say it
You
again.
you can never outperform your own self-image.
What does that mean?
If you believe that you're worth $1,000 and you're pricing your program at $3,000,
Mm.
it's going to come up. It's going to come up in unexpected ways.
Do
Either
you?
you
I'm going to flip this. Are there people that? How do I put it? nicely, that whether they have value or not, they're going to price something at 10,000, and because they believe in it, they're going to get it? Is it that simple?
No,
All right, good.
no,
Because
there's a
that's
lot of,
manipulation. That's
it is.
that's out of integrity. That scares me if you were to say yes.
Mhm.
All right. So
If you believe that your program's worth $10,000, but you're not actually delivering the results that would give your clients a return on that investment, then there's a bigger problem there.
then maybe somebody will come, but you won't get repeat. You won't be able to
No,
sustain that.
no, your business won't be sustainable.
All right. So unconscious blocks. You're never going to be able to outperform your own self-image. So how do you help a coach have a better self-image? What has to happen? That's a big one.
That's a big
That's
question.
actually my
That's a very,
job. You know,
that's a
that's
big
that's
question.
what I'm trying to help people do. What's in the way of you believing you have value? Can I
Hmm.
answer that question? May I?
Sure.
Or and you tell me what you
Absolutely.
think?
Absolutely.
Sometimes there's a reason the person feels that a program isn't worth 3,000, because either they haven't vetted it, they haven't done it enough, they don't know what the outcomes are, they can't say confidently it actually does this, this, and this, or there have been mixed reviews, and there's been some negative comments, and they've taken those to heart, not realizing that's critique that you can use. You know, if some piece of your program failed, okay, pick yourself up, change that part of that program, right? Don't be flattened by that. But I think that for many people, the self image is needing to be bolstered through action, through results. Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
Hmm. Well, I think it makes a lot of sense, and I think that is a very good observation. Um, but I also think that basically where you were going with that is that confidence in your program comes after you've seen results. But confidence is a it's a mental state,
Mm-hmm.
and we have the ability to control our mental states and putting
Yeah.
ourselves in those. So it could be both.
So, what
Either
do we do for the person who says, Sean, I would like you to close this for me? It's a 3,000 program and I have no results, and therefore my confidence is flagging. What do we do when we don't have results? In other words, I'm guessing, and I talk about this a lot, you're asking or suggesting that we have a shift internally before, I call it, before the future has been hatched. In other words, have it and muster it before you actually see that 50 people wanted this $30,000, $3,000 program. Do you have specific things you tell the coaches to help them build confidence before there's data and evidence?
I don't typically work with coaches who are at that stage.
I see.
My sweet spot is more working with established coaches that I can leverage their positioning and their reputation to scale them to the next level,
I
and
see.
to do so in a very efficient and really no nonsense way. You know, I know you guys want results. You already deliver the quality. Let me enhance
I
that.
see. But
Um,
even among those people, there's blocks, you've said, right?
Absolutely. But I'd like to touch on that, you know, that question that you asked
Please.
me, and how you create something in your mind before it actually happens. And the common saying is, "I'll see it when I believe it,"
Right.
or "I'll believe it." I'll believe it. I
When
always
I
get this mixed up.
see it.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Right. They
Instead, it
wait
should
for
be,
the result to know
yeah,
that they're worth anything.
it should be, "I'll see it when I see it." Yeah, I always get it
Ah,
confused.
I need to believe it first. So
Yeah,
I'll
you need to
see
believe
it
it
when I
first.
believe
Everything has been created. Anything that you look at around you in the world has been created twice. Once in the mind of the creator, and next in reality.
it. Oh, I love it. I love that. I
Yeah.
believe that. I mean, I think for practical terms, coaches, do you believe you have an intention of supporting your clients? Do you believe you have some knowledge and experience in a methodology that will support them? Do what's your evidence for that? And that might be every conversation I have with someone who's needing help, it seems to come out on the other end that they've been helped, that they feel they've been helped. It can be really that simple, right? It does start with yourself. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Love it. So,
And a lot of it has to do, Kathy, with asking these coaches, "Well, why do you think you're not getting the results?" And then I hear what they have to say,
What do they
And
tend to say?
that can either, oh, there's so many different responses,
Give
but
me a few.
it could either be, something that, that they're operating from their higher self, and they're saying that, I've formulated my strategy. I know I'm speaking from the heart. I think I'm communicating with my target market appropriately, but I'm just not seeing the results that I know that I can achieve. And
Mm.
that's a higher self response. And I know that I don't have to dig that deep. I just have to look, into, perhaps they've missed a step or two. Because sometimes in your marketing process, there's things that are so simple that that they're often overlooked.
Do you want to
And then
share a few of those?
on the flip side, there could be lower self responses. Sort of the victim mindset. I've tried everything. I don't know what to do anymore. Nobody's, buying from me. I don't, sort of, you can see the way that my composure changed when I was in my higher versus my lower
Yeah,
self.
right, right. So let me ask another question. When you say that when you're doing your closing activities, you're actually searching for the truth and you're searching for what that
Mm-hmm.
person really wants. And you didn't say this, but let me see if this is right. I think what you might be doing is you're searching for the deepest truth about what this person's longing for. And when there is a match to the program that's being offered, you link that, meaning,
Mm-hmm.
let's say you were high ticket closing
100%.
for my amazing career project, and you speak to a woman
Mm-hmm.
who says, it's confidence. And I just finished my 16-week, one of the sessions of my 16-week course, and 3 people mentioned confidence. I came to this program because my confidence was flattened, and you helped me get it. So if you hear that person needs a confidence boost, I'm guessing if you know this program delivers confidence, you're going to talk about that. You're going to go where the bleeding neck is. Is that right? Is that what we're talking about when you say you search for
Mm-hmm.
truth?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But if in fact it is actually confidence,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes people will say something because they want to hide something that's even deeper.
Oh,
They'll be holding their poker cards very close to their chest, and so you have to probe it. You have to qualify that and see if it's actually really what's holding. And if it is in fact confidence, and I know that your program, Kathy, helps people with confidence and to overcome certain things in their life, then yes, that's the direction that I'm going to take.
right.
Absolutely.
So here's a question. I don't mean to paint all men and women, all women with the same brush and all men with another brush, but women often tell me it's incredibly difficult for me to talk in a glowing way about what I do. Do you think that hiring someone like you to close the sale, the deal, the program, does it get around, how am I trying to say this? I think for you could speak glowingly about a program or talk freely about what a program can do in language that maybe the coach, him or herself, would struggle to do. Is that right? In other words, there can be some glowing terminology that you might use that the coach herself might really struggle to say, this program is for
Mhm.
you. Is that accurate? In other words, you
I
serve
think
that purpose?
I think there's a difference in terminology, and that comes from coming from different worlds. And of course, there is an element of coaching in what I do, but I'm involved with the coaching business, but I'm separate from it.
Right.
It's not my baby. I
Right.
didn't create it, and so there is that emotional attachment for coaches, and a lot of times
Mm.
that's what's holding them back in sales, because they're proud of it and they want to talk about it. But the more you talk, the more sales that you lose. You have to be asking questions. You have to
Good.
you have to
It's
be in your
so good.
prospects mind.
It's so good.
And as far as you asked, as far as gender differences, um, is that what you're implying as to
Yeah.
speaking about it in a glowing way?
Yeah. I mean, women struggle.
No, I don't think so.
You don't see
I
that as
mean,
a difference.
I know that there is social conditioning on the backdrop, and there's a big difference between men and women.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't necessarily think that the gender difference impacts it. I know a lot of female closers who are fantastic at what they
Interesting.
do, and it really comes down to personality types as well. There's
But
four main
you're bringing
personality
up a
types, and
different
it's
point.
all.
I'm guessing that males and females closing could have equal success. My point is, when it's my baby and I want to
Mhm.
convince you to buy it, which is all wrong in every possible way, it's hard for many women to speak glowingly about something when it's their own thing, because the research shows that women who are assertive and confident get punished. So I think we're talking about two different things. When there's a
Okay.
male or female high ticket closer, I'm sure that their results are probably pretty equal. I think when we're talking
Mhm.
about our own product and our own work, that's where some of the challenges, I think. We'll have to test that out. All right, we have a few more minutes. Let's get to the practical, Sean. We want to teach people, obviously you want to hear from great coaches who need your help, but can you give us, in lieu of that, what are 3 practical tips for coaches or consultants or private practitioners to start generating more money today? What do they need to
Mm,
do practically?
absolutely. And you know what? I'm always happy to hear when somebody doesn't need my help. That means that they're doing a great job on their own. And I
Yeah.
know it sounds counterintuitive, but I'm all about. I'm a coach at heart. I decided to help coaches instead of becoming one because I saw that there's some problems that are holding them back.
It's true.
And when they tell me they're doing well, I'm happy for them. I
That's a good
and,
thing.
and and so on that note, I wrote a few things down, and perhaps this will get you one step closer to where you want to be, and you won't have to
Awesome.
call me or talk to
Awesome.
me. So I actually wrote them down, and the first one has to do with money beliefs.
You tell us about that.
It's a very practical exercise that you can do multiple times, and it will allow you to uncover your values and perhaps your limiting beliefs surrounding money.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
Tell
and
us.
the way you do it is there are a number of prompts which I'll read out right now,
Oh,
and
cool.
listeners can come back to this video, or we can share it with them on another channel,
Uh-huh.
and they can do this themselves. And when you do it, it's very important that you just write whatever comes to mind. Don't try to censor it in any way, and just write until you run out of things to say. So number 1, money is, and then as we go down the list, wealth is. Wealthy people are. The reasons I can't or may not become wealthy are. Some of the negatives of being wealthy or going through the process of becoming wealthy are. My greatest fears and worries regarding wealth are. The worst thing about money is everything I heard about money as a child. An early emotional experience about money. Family members and how they acted around money. Was I raised in abundance or was I raised in scarcity? And I really encourage you to do this multiple times, because each time you do it, you're going to uncover something new.
It's a great exercise.
And revisit it every
I
6
would say
months,
every
every year.
person on the planet should answer these questions. I really do. I mean, whether
Mhm.
you're a coach or you're in your entrepreneurial venture or you're a corporate person and you feel like, why am I not getting those raises? Why am I not getting rewarded and recognized financially? Those are fantastic questions. I love it.
Yeah, Kathy, money is such a taboo subject, but it's on everybody's mind.
Yeah,
The world revolves around money, and it's a tool. That's all it is. It's a
right.
tool. It can be used to enhance, or it can be used to destroy. And it really depends from which wavelength you're approaching it, which will determine whether you will attract it and whether you'll use it for good or for bad.
Oh,
And so it's
gosh.
something that really needs to be talked about.
I would love to just share quickly one validating comment. I grew up saying I want to make a lot of money, and I created a path for myself to do that. But internally, there was always resistance and rub against it. And it got to the point where I was making a lot, but hated the work. So internally, the thought was, I'll make a lot, but I'll sell my soul. Like literally, like prostitution is how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those go very deep. So when all of a sudden you have a shift and you can earn, it's your business and you can earn what you want and create opportunity as you want it. If you're still holding resistance against money, I will make a lot, but I'll hate it. I will make a lot, but I won't be in alignment with my soul. Well, then it doesn't matter that your situation has changed. You're going to recreate that pattern because that's the pattern you believe in, to your point earlier. And finally, when I recognized, why do I have so much resistance to money? Money is just an energy form. And I saw that it came from my childhood. Things started to shift in a very big way. So I really validate what you're saying. Love it. Any other practical tips? Give us two more. What can we do today to kind of instantly change our wealth programming?
A big one is if coaches are doing their own closing, their own sales, how they reframe the way they look at objections.
Oh,
A lot
tell
of
us
people
more.
hate objections.
Oh my gosh,
Um,
you're right.
I actually love objections because they're a window into how I can improve as a closer and how I can improve as an individual. And it's also, if done correctly, if you handle those objections correctly, it's a way to gain leverage. And the funny thing about objections is they're actually a projection of yourself. You know, whatever your prospect brings up in the course of a call is something that they're sensing about you, an objection or a resistance that you may have when you're engaging in a purchase decision yourself.
So it's a mirror.
It's absolutely a mirror.
It's a
And
mirror. It's
that's what
always
I
a
was,
mirror.
it's almost always a mirror, unless you're dealing with somebody who's in their lower self in an exceptional way. And a lot of people are, sometimes it's a combination of both. But if you see yourself getting one objection more often than any other, it has to do with you.
So if I don't hear these objections, but if someone said to me, that's a long period of time, 16 weeks to work in the Amazing Career Project, and I have so much on my plate, I don't know that I can really commit to that. That might be a mirror of my challenge in committing to something that requires
Mm-hmm.
time and energy and focus. Is
Mm-hmm.
that what you
Exactly. How busy are you? How many things are you juggling at the moment? Do you feel like you're able to 100% commit to this person? Do you believe in this person? Do you believe that they're worth your time?
Are you asking that the coach should be asking that? In other words,
You should be asking yourself that question.
oh, you're saying, oh, I misunderstood. I thought you meant if someone pushes back, I don't have time for this. It might be a reflection of how in my own life, I struggle with time.
Mm-hmm.
But are you saying it's also a reflection of, do I, the coach, have time for this individual?
It could be many different things, but when you're off the call, Kathy, and you know that you've been getting this time objection, think about it. How much time do I actually have to serve this person? Do I feel overwhelmed? Do I feel like I'm juggling too many things? Do I have time for my personal life? It could be a variety of different things, and only you know the answer to it. But that's the beauty of the objection, is that it's free. It's free coaching,
free
basically.
Information.
It's free coaching.
I have never thought of that. Wow, that it's a mirror in a number of ways where you may be blocked in serving that individual, and they're just echoing back a block that they hear from you that you're not even aware of, or that you might be having the same problem this individual has. I can't focus. I can't commit. That's a winner, Sean. That's a winner. I love it. Is there anything
It's
else?
one of my favorites.
Is there anything else that you can leave us with? Anything at all?
I think the last thing that I'd like to leave the audience with is the fact that you set your coaching program price at a certain level, and you don't believe that people will buy at that price point. And here's the thing: money earned is a byproduct of value created. It's very simple. You create the value, you earn the money. That's all it is. And people afford what they want to afford. And want is an emotion. So if you're doing your closing and your marketing correctly, you're appealing to people's emotions. And at that point, if you hit the right emotional hot buttons, they will buy. They will buy, and they will justify it with logic. And that's where your testimonials and your features and your benefits and all those auxiliary things, and I call them auxiliary for a reason, come into play.
They actually want to justify their want by looking at logical information, but they've already wanted it. Oh,
Yes.
Sean, it's so helpful. Where can people learn about you if they want to learn about what you can do for them, if they want to touch base and see what you've written and get your advice? Where can they learn more about you?
I would recommend them to reach out on LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn
LinkedIn.
regularly. That's really the only platform I use
Okay. See, you're
to
not buying the
connect.
Instagram. I
No,
like Instagram. Don't get me wrong. It's just we have to focus. We can't be everything. Anyway,
yeah,
LinkedIn is the way, and we will link under this where to find your profile. Sean, thank you for
absolutely.
pulling it back and letting us look at kind of some insider secrets about what's holding us back from having greater financial joy and reward and therefore impact. Let's face it, folks. If you're not reaching people because there are money objections, you're not having the impact that you dream to have. And that's why you're a coach. So
That's
thank
what's
you,
most
Sean.
important.
Thank you so much for joining. And everybody, I hope this gives you a dose of Finding Brave. What are you going to do? I'm dying to hear. What are you going to do based on what you learned here that's going to be different for you in terms of how you can command the prices that you deserve? Thanks, everybody. And I'll see you next time.